Hey guys, welcome back to a new video which is about notifications in Android. And we'll see how to create our own notification and also add functionality into it. So let's go to Android Studio and see the app that we are going to build. Here it is, let's open it. We immediately ask for permission for notifications in Android SDK33 and above, so we allow that. And then we click on this button to create our notification. As you can see, here it is, it has a counter that keeps counting. When we click on stop, it just stops at 0. When we click on start, it starts again. So it's a notification with functionality in it. So let's get started. Alright, here I'm in Android Studio. I just have this object that is called counter. It has a flow that is this start function, and it just runs as long as this boolean is running is true. And when we stop it, we simply set it to false, and then we reset the counter value to 0. When we click on start again, we set it to true, and then we keep running while that one is true. We are emitting now this counter value, and we increase it after every second. It's a very simple counter object that we want to actually use, and we don't have anything else. Now, let's actually get started with creating the channel ID for our notification. So what is a channel ID? Let's get to Android Studio here. We still have our notification. I don't know if we can, no, I did actually make it not swipeable like this. But anyway, if we open our app settings, we go to notifications, here is our channel ID, which is called notification channel. And if we open any other app like YouTube, for example, as you can see, here are all the channels that are on YouTube, like subscriptions, live streams, and we can disable specific channels like this and allow the ones that we want. So these are all channels, and the channel is just a way to describe a notification. So this channel can also have some description if you want to, and actually we define that by ourselves in Android Studio. So that's a channel. Now let's just create it, and to create it we need to create it inside the app class. So let's create that app. This extends application, and then we need the onCreate function, and let's create the channel for our countdown. I mean, not countdown, but counter. So these channels are only required in Android SDK Oreo and above. So if we need to check if we are at least above that, if build dot version dot SDK end is greater or equal than build dot version codes dot o, which is Oreo. Now we can create the channel, otherwise we don't have to. Alright, so let's actually define it. Counter channel is going to be a notification channel, and then we need an ID. For now, let's just say counter channel, but we'll change it later. We'll create a constant variable for it. So counter channel, and then we need the name that will be displayed in the settings. Counter channel again, and then the importance of it. So notification manager dot. So importance low, importance default high. So it depends on the importance of our notification. If you want it to show as a high priority notification, then we can choose, for example, high or max, or just leave it at default. In my case, I'm going to leave it at low, because if I use, for example, default or high, every time we update our counter, it will make a sound. So I'm just going to leave it at low because I don't really need a sound for that. All right. Now here I have my channel. I just need to register it with a notification manager. So val notification manager, that is going to be get system service context dot notification service as notification manager. Now here we have our notification manager, which we can use now. Notification manager dot create notification channel to create that channel, passing our counter channel, and that's it. We have the channel. That's all we need. In our app class, we just need to register that right here. Name app. And since we want to create a notification, we need the notification permission. So post notification in Android version 33 and above. So in SDK version 33 and above. So below that we don't need this, but after that we do need that. We need to also ask for a permission to actually create such notifications or show such notifications. All right, now here we have our permission in manifest. What we want to do next is actually create a notification. So in a class, let's call it counter notification, and simply everything will happen inside this class. We first need context. We need context to show a notification, and then we want to create our companion object in which we'll have our channel. So just create some space down here, or channel ID, const var channel ID is going to be counter channel, and then let's go to app and actually use that one from our counter notification.channel ID. Alright, now what we need to do is create the notification itself. For that, let's have a public function that we want to call outside this class from a broadcast receiver, and we'll see why. So counter notification, find counter notification, and then let's create a simple notification var, let's call it just notification, is going to be a notification compat dot builder. We need to pass the context and then the channel ID, and then we need to actually specify some things that we want for our notification. Let's say small icon, so set small icon, and then we can use any icon that we have in our drawable, for example. Let's use this one. Of course, you can have more icons in there. Just go into drawable and then new vector asset and choose any icon that you want. Let's, for example, use this add alert. Maybe that's a good one. And then next, finish. Let's use that one. Baseline add alert 24. And then we can set our content title, which is the title of our notification. For that, just write counter, for example, and then we can set our content text. So that's going to be the actual counter value, and we'll be passing it from here. So counter, just call it counter of type int, and then right here counter dot to string. So we'll pass this counter value every time it updates or it increases, and then we can set more stuff, and especially we have this set style function. And of course, in Android we have different styles of notifications. We have a notification that just shows an image, and for example, when we drag it like this, we can see the full image, or the image expands. We have notifications for music players in which we have buttons to go to the next song, go back, pause, and so on. So we have different styles, and we can use them inside the set style function. Now, since I just have a text to text simply, I'm going to go for the notification compat dot big text style. And yeah, of course, we have more styles that we can use, as I said. Now, set on going. As you can see in the app, when I tried swiping away the notification, I couldn't do that. It was because of this. When we set on going to true, it means this notification can't go away. So we can just swipe it like this. It depends now on the importance of our notification again. If it's a music player, you better set this to true, because you don't want the user to accidentally swiping away the notification of their music and then they have to open the app again to get that notification. That's a bad user experience. Better set this to true. If it's not really an important notification, it's just a message arrived, the user can just swipe that away. So it depends. Now, if we check our app again, so let's just open the emulator. Here we have our notification. If we click on it, it does open the app, and that doesn't happen by default. So it's just not like create a notification and then when you click on it, it opens the app. No, we need to actually do that. We need to write that and use a pending intent for that, because what's going to happen is that when we click on it, our notification manager that we'll use to register this notification is going to send an intent or a pending intent to our app to actually launch the activity that we want or anything else that we want. So for that, we want an intent first to launch our activity, which is the main activity, or any other activity that you have in your app. It depends. For example, when the user receives a message, then you want to launch the chat activity or something like that, and specifically the conversation in which the new message arrived. Anyway, now we create the intent var, let's call it just intent, for example. That's going to be an intent, and then passing context, and we want to launch our main activity. So main activity double common class.java, and then we want to create the pending intent, because to do that, let's just go here. You can write dot set content intent like this. which is going to use when we actually click on the notification, it takes a padding intent or a pending intent. Now here I have only an intent var. So now let's create our pending intent, and it's called, for example, notification click, because we can have a bunch of these just for one notification, because with every action we need a pending intent. Notification click pending intent, that is going to be a pending intent, and we need to pass the context, the request code. Of course, with everyone we need a different request code, and then we need to pass our intent that we want to send to our activity, and then a flag. So what is a flag? I think I did not import this, or since I want to open the activity I need to write .get activity. That's an important thing. Now we need a flag, but what is a flag again? So this flag is just a way to define how to treat this pending intent. Now let's create that and then explain it later. Vol flag, because we'll use it in every pending intent that we need these flags in Underwood version Oreo and above. Build.versions.stk and is greater or equal to build.versioncode.o. Then we can use pending intent dot flag immutable, else we can use 0. So this flag, if we click dot, we have this flag, no create, flag, cancel, current. So when we send an intent with this request code, that is 1, and then later we send another one. If we use this flag cancel current, which means we will cancel the one that we have and then use the new one. If we use flag update current, just update the one that we have with the new one. But for us, we'll just use immutable. That's what we use all the time. We don't really care about that. So we pass our flag right here, and now we have our pending intent. So we can pass that. Notification click pending intent. And so right now when we click on our notification, we will actually launch our activity. That's it. Now we just want to build the notification and then create the notification with a notification manager, which is something we can do right here. Well, maybe I should take these and put them inside the function. I don't think I want to have them outside the function. So now I can create a notification manager, and let's just not write all of that again. Just copy it from app and have it right here. So we need to use context because we need the context to have this get system service function. In application, the context is already here. In application here, we use it from this one, and then we can use our notification manager dot notify, and then an ID, and then passing our notification. So what does this notify do is when we have a different ID, so if we have multiple notifications, then we send an ID of a notification that we already have, it will be just updated. So this is how our notification manager distinguishes between all those notifications. Now, every time we increase our counter, which is this one, we just want to show the new value. So that means with this ID, our notification manager will be able to actually just update the notification with the new counter value. If we pass a new ID, then it will create a new notification. That's it. So if you have multiple notifications, you will have multiple IDs because you need to update the one that you want. If you pass an ID of the notification that you don't want, then you will get some weird behavior, which is something you don't want. Now we have our notification, and when we go to our main activity, here I just have a button. Of course, to show that notification, I need to ask for permission first, but that should happen only in Android version 2.3 or SDK version 2.3 and above. So if build again dot version dot SDK and is greater or equal than build dot version codes dot tiramisu, then I should actually ask for the permission, otherwise I shouldn't. And I'm just going to ask for that in, or let me just ask it right here. I don't have to create a separate function for that. So of course this is not the proper way of asking for permissions. There is a much proper way to do it, but I'm not going to go into that. Our focus here is notifications. So we need to request permissions, and then we need to pass our activity or context. The array of is going to be the permissions that we want. So if we have multiple notifications, we can have all of them there. Now we have one notification which we can get from manifest dot permission dot post notification, and then the request code can be any number. So as I said, if we have multiple permissions, then we can just put a comma there and then pass the new ones. Now we have only one, so we'll ask for the permission right there. And then right here, we can show our notification by just calling this exact function. But for now, I don't want to do that directly because as you saw in my actual app, there is a counter that increases and we can reset it to 0 and so on. And this actually create that functionality first. And to have those two buttons, let's check the emulator again. We have two buttons in here. You can see we have start, that just starts it. We have stop, that stops it. And to do that, we can just write add action. This action requires an icon, so we can write r.drawable.any icon. The icon is not showing anyway. We can use any icon there. And then the text that is going to be written. So for the first one, it's start. And then the action, which requires a pending intent again. So we still need that pending intent here. And the way we want to handle this is actually using a broadcast receiver. So a broadcast receiver is just a thing that you send something to and then it receives it and then it does something after that. So that's all what that means. So let's create that right here. Let's call it notification or counter, probably counter receiver that implements broadcast receiver. We have a function now to override, which is on receive. So when we send something to this broadcast receiver, this on receive function is triggered and we can do something. And we can also send an action to this one with an intent. And technically we have two different actions. We can put them in an unum class that can be counter actions, for example. We have two different actions in this case, start and stop. All right, so let's now go to our receiver here. We'll just use the action that we get in our intent. If, or let's use probably while or when intent.action is counter notification dot counter actions dot start. We want to do something which is start the notification technically, or we can just now duplicate this for stop to stop it. So it depends on the action we send with the intent to this broadcast receiver. And since this is a string, this one is a unum, we can write .name to get the string value from it. Now I need an instance of my notification, private let init var that I'm going to initialize right here. It's going to be a counter notification. And then I need a coroutine job as well for the counter. Private var counter job is going to be a job by default null. Alright, now let me just initialize my counter notification. That's going to be a counter notification passing the context. And the counter notification is just this one that we created right now. Alright, so that's it. Now let's create the two functions. And to save some time, let's just paste them here because this video is not really about how to use jobs or anything. So in the start, we first make sure that we stop our counter. So what we do is we cancel our job, which is the coroutine job. If it's already doing something, we first cancel it. And then we stop our counter, which is this object that just sets this one to false, resets the value to 0, and then we actually call our notification function sending 0 as the value. So this one will receive 0. It will realize that it already has that, or it will just create it for the first time. It will update the notification with the 0 value as the content text, as you can see. All right. Now we start it. We initialize our coroutine job to be a coroutine scope supervisor job plus dispatchers.io. If you don't understand coroutines, I do have a coroutines playlist in which I explained all of this. We launch our coroutine. We collect our flow, which is this start here. It's just a flow that emits values. We collect that. We get a counter value. I'm just printing it with a log. And then simply every time I get a value, I update my notification again with the new value. So it's as simple as that, nothing special. I just make sure that before I start, I first stop. So if I have a job already running, I make sure that I stop that and I reset my counter. And also I reset this one to 0. So I need to make sure that everything is stopped before I start. Okay, and since this one is nullable, which is my counter job, then of course if it's null, then it won't be cancelled. If it's not null, it will be cancelled because then it's probably already doing some job that I need to cancel. Alright, now we need to create a pending intent. And for that, I created a helper function because we need 2 actions. We could have a lot more actions, and let's just paste it. So don't be scared of this function. I didn't want to write it to save some time because you already now understand what a pending intent is. So I explained it to you what a flag is. Now this function gets pending intent for action. So we pass an action and then we get a pending intent for that. Why? Because with every pending intent, we need a request code that should be unique. And with every action which is in here, start and stop, we need a different pending intent. So what we do is that we pass the action that we want, which is just this unim class action. So we pass one of that. We pass the flag. In this case, it's always going to be this one. So it depends on the version of our sticky ent. And then the request code that will be unique for everyone or for every action. Then what we do is that we create a normal intent that now will be sent to our counter receiver, which is the broadcast receiver, as you can see. So we'll be sent to that, and then this one will get that intent and then does something based on the action. But then how do we define that action? So we actually check the action that we sent to this function. If it's start, then the intent, which is this one, dot action, is now start. So the string value is dot name. If it's stop, then the action is stop. So now we just created an intent based on the action that we sent to this function, as you can see. And then we return a pending intent dot get broadcast. Why? Here we use the activity because we want to send this to activity, which is our main activity. Now we want to send this to our broadcast receiver, so we need a broadcast. We get broadcast, we pass content, the request code that, as I said, is going to be unique for each action, and then the intent, which is this one that has an action depend on what I passed here, and then the flag. So how do we use now this function? So when we add our action, we can just write get pending intent for action. We need to pass the action first, that is going to be my counter actions dot start. So the first action is start, the flag is flag, the request code is going to be 2 because I already have 1 here. So I'll pass 2. As you can see, now I have my pending intent for this start action with this flag that I have in there with a unique request code. Now for the second action, which is the stop action, I can have it right here. This one is going to be stop. I can change the icon if I want. And then the action now is going to be stop. The new request code is going to be 3. As you can see, I'm using the same function to get different broadcast receivers based on the action that I have. So I don't have to create a lot of these broadcast receivers just like I did in here. And I only created this one in here because now here I use get activity. And I want main activity here. I always want my counter receiver and I always want a broadcast, get broadcast, pending intent. Alright, here I added my actions, which are those buttons or text that I have in my notification that when I click on, I will send a pending intent, as you can see, to my broadcast receiver with an action that is start or stop that receives that action, and it does something, maybe resetting the value of my counter to 0 or whatever, or receives that value, and then it just updates my notification using the notification, the counter notification that I have. It sends the new value, it gets it right here, and then it updates that with this same ID. If I use the new ID, then it will create a new notification. This can be a private var notification manager. Now this is how we created our notification with functionality, but we still don't launch it in our activity when we click on the button. So right here we have a button. What I want to do is not exactly launching the notification counter or the counter notification. I'm going to launch actually the counter receiver, sending an intent to it with the action start to start that. So I won't actually access this one from the activity. Instead, I'm going to access the counter receiver. So let's do that right here. And that needs just an intent var counter, or just intent. That's all I'm going to name it. Is going to be my intent. Passing this, maybe I need to import that. And then what I'm going to launch is my counter receiver class.java, and then I want to pass an action to it. So intent dot action is going to be my counter notification dot counter actions dot start because I want to start it. Dot name because I want the string value now. So I have an intent that I will send to my counter receiver with this action. Now I just have to launch my broadcast receiver. So since it's a broadcast receiver, I'm going to write send broadcast, passing my intent, and the intent already has this one, that this is what I want to launch, this action. And as I already explained how this works when it receives that. Okay, the moment of truth is just now remove this one. Let's just actually uninstall it, the first one, and then install our new app with the notification that we just created. Okay, here it is running. Let's see if the app crashes for any reason. Nope. We ask for our notification here in our main activity, or notification permissions, rather say. When we click on allow, here is our button that will send an intent to my broadcast receiver with the action start. Let's click on that, and we don't see our notification. Nope, maybe it takes a little bit of time, or no, it's not working. So let's see why. Maybe I think I know why. So let's go to our manifest. We need to actually register our broadcast. That's what we need right here. So receiver, that's going to be my counter receiver. That's probably what I'm missing. Now let's try again. We already have the permission. Let's click on that. And yes, here is our notification with the icon. And it is actually increasing. As you can see, it's counting. When we click on stop, it goes to be 0, start. It starts again, which is exactly what we want. We can't swipe it away because we already defined that it's ongoing. And then when we click on it, it launches our app. Of course, when you click on it with this intent, where is that? This intent right here, we can simply launch any other activity or anything basically with this pending intent. And that's how you create notifications and add functionality to that notification as well, and also ask for the permission for SDK enter to tree and above.